You probably know the term biological clock, and you might have heard it in a sentence similar to, oh, your biological clock is ticking, meaning that for a woman at a certain point in her life it's not going to be possible to have any more children. But it's kind of unfair to be thinking about biological clock only in this regards, because there is much more to it, and what it is, that's coming up in this video. Hi, my name is Helena and I am a night owl. So what it is, this biological clock? Biological clock, or in scientific terms, the circadian rhythm, is something that is installed in our bodies and influences not only our reproduction, but our other needs. It tells us when we're hungry or thirsty, it influences our mood or emotions, it regulates our metabolism, and also influences the hormones that are released into our body. And most importantly, it influences when we want to sleep, when we're tired, and when we feel awake. Scientists used to think that how we sleep and when we wake up, when we are tired, is influenced by the daylight. Meaning that if it's light outside, then we are naturally awake, and when it's getting darker, we are naturally getting tired. And at night, everyone sleeps. That actually changed with an experiment when scientists took a plant, a flower, which blossoms during the day and follows the sun, but in the evening it looks like it's dying, and at night all the leaves are down and the plant basically looks like if it's dead. But every time in the morning when the sun rises, the plant magically comes alive and repeats this cycle. So naturally they thought, okay, this is influenced by the daylight because the plant follows the sun. During the day it blossoms, during the night it looks like if it's dead. But they took this plant and put it into a dark box and they monitored it for several days, and they actually found out that this plant, even though it's completely in darkness, still follows the same pattern, that it blossoms at certain times and it looks dead at other times. Exactly as if it was following the sun, but without the sun being actually present. A few hundred years later, in the first half of the 20th century, two of the scientists actually thought, hey, let's try this experiment on people. So the two of them volunteered themselves and went to live in a cave for a few weeks. They actually lasted for about 30 days, and they lived in this cave, which was so deep that there was no sunlight whatsoever. So basically all of their days, all of their nights were all in darkness. They monitored everything that they were doing and the times when they were sleeping, the times that they were awake. And surprisingly, after this experiment was finished, they actually found out their biological clock was working precisely similarly like if it was exposed to the sunlight, but without the sunlight being present. So thanks to experiments like these, we now know that all of the organisms on Earth have their own biological clock that is actually not relying on any external factors. The sunlight is of course still important. Actually, for people, it resets our biological clock, because if it wasn't for sunlight, our biological clock would be more than 24 hours. It would be maybe 24 hours and 15 minutes, depending on a person. So thanks to the sunlight, our biological clock resets every day, but it is not the main factor that influences our circadian rhythm. Okay, so now maybe you're thinking, so what's the point? What's the point of knowing this? Well, in theory, if you think about it, if you respect your circadian rhythm, you should be using this to your advantage in a way that you wake up refreshed, you spend your day fully awake, and when you're getting tired, you're winding down, then when you're most tired, you go to bed, you sleep, and you have a well-rested night, and you wake up refreshed again. That would be nice, right? In an ideal world. Well, if you ask me, I cannot really think of a time in the last 5 or 6 years when I actually woke up naturally by myself and feeling refreshed. For me, one of the factors why I'm not waking up refreshed in the morning is definitely because I have 2 young kids. And so in the last 5 or 6 years, I think I slept maybe 3 times through the night. Other nights, usually I'm at least once or twice woken up by them. So that's motherhood, right? But second factor is that there is something called chronotype. And my chronotype, unfortunately, is not really in sync with today's society. So if your chronotype is a morning person or an early bird, you can consider yourself lucky, because your life is probably way easier than a life of an average night person or a night owl. As you know, today's society is kind of set up in favor for morning people, It's required in a lot of places to wake up and get up early, get to work, get to school, and it's not really required to stay up way too late. But maybe you're thinking, okay, so I am a morning person and you're a night owl, but you're a night owl by choice. Well, that is actually not true, because our circadian rhythms and our chronotypes are given to us genetically. So there's really not much we can do about it. And maybe you're asking, okay, so how many night owls are there? How many morning people are there? According to the book Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, there are 40% of people that are morning people, 30% that are night owls, and 30% that fall somewhere in the middle or in between. But if given a choice, they would lean towards night owlness. So if you think about it, around 60% of our population would prefer a later start of the day and then being able to stay up a little bit later. So we know every organism has a circadian rhythm, which actually looks like a sinusoid, which means that we start the morning being awake, then our energy level goes up, and that at a certain point of the day our energy is the highest, and then it just continues being lower and lower, and at a certain point of the day we reach our lowest point of energy, then we feel tired, then we go to bed, and then we sleep, and the cycle starts again. The circadian rhythm is quite precise, but the problem is that everyone's circadian rhythm is different. So some people might have this peak of energy quite early in the day, even before noon, but they feel tired quite early in the day and they kind of have to go to bed quite early. While in some people the energy level is quite low in the morning, but peaks in the afternoon, and they're not really tired yet in the evening, and they're getting tired later at night. I already mentioned that the different chronotypes are given genetically. So why would Mother Nature do something that seems quite illogical? Why wouldn't it be better that all of us people would be awake at the same time? But as you know, Mother Nature always has intention in things. So there's a theory that actually says that at the times when people were still living in caves and were quite vulnerable at night, not really safe like we are now locked up in our houses, so nighttime was quite dangerous because everyone who is sleeping is a potential target for wildlife and it's not really safe. So by creating different types of chronotypes, there were different types of people. Some of them were going to sleep at 8 or 9 in the evening, and they were up at 5 a.m. But others were able to stay up late till 1 or 2 in the morning, and then they were sleeping in till maybe 9 or 10. So this way, the time when all of the people were sleeping at the same time was reduced from like 8 hours to 4, which is a 50% higher chance of survival. So yeah, you night owls, you heard me right. We are the reason that our population was able to get a 50% higher chance of survival till today. Okay, so I'm joking a little bit, but the facts are that these patterns still remain in our bodies, in our genes, and are passed on generation by generation. But it's not maybe as useful as it once could have been. In today's world, unfortunately, night owls like myself face more challenges, because since we are not really able to embrace our natural circadian rhythm, we are pressured to go to bed earlier than we feel actually tired, and then we have to wake up way earlier than we are ready for. So as you can see, it can become quite challenging if you want to actually follow your natural circadian rhythm. Night owls are actually at higher risk of becoming alcoholics or addicts in general. They are more at risk of being overweight or obese and having depression or other psychological issues. Regardless, I still think that it's really important to know what your chronotype is and to get to know how your circadian rhythm works. For me, when I found out, it was like glass shattering, that I could finally see what my life was kind of missing in a way. I've been actually trying to find some hacks or ways how to embrace my circadian rhythm and how to be in sync with it more and not fight against it. Some things are working, some things still need a little bit of tweaking, but nevertheless, this was the reason why I started this YouTube channel, and I would like to share all of this information with you. So don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!